My husband died 6 months ago in a skiing accident. Yesterday I found his secret wedding video from 2 years ago with a woman who wasn't me. I watched with trembling hands as David promised forever to a blonde stranger while wearing the watch I'd given him for our anniversary. The same David who swore business trips kept him away every other weekend. The same David whose ashes I scattered in the mountains he supposedly loved. The video file was buried deep in an encrypted folder on his old laptop. I'd only opened it because I finally felt strong enough to sort through his things. 6 months of grief therapy had given me permission to move forward, to pack up his clothes, to touch the technology that had been his sanctuary. Now I sat frozen in my living room, the laptop balanced on my knees, watching a ceremony that mirrored our own same vows. Be tender kiss wick bride. Her name was Rebecca according to the efficient Rebecca Miller. No, Rebecca Johnson. She was taking his name, my name, while I had been at home, trusting and oblivious, probably ordering takeout and watching reality dong. I paused the video on his face, that smile. I knew that smile. It was the same one he'd flashed when he proposed to me 5 years ago. The same easy confidence, the same crinkles around his eyes, not a hint of guilt. This can't be real, I whispered to the empty room, but it was. The timestamp showed a date I remembered clearly. I'd called him that night and he'd described his hotel room in Denver with such detail. He'd even sent photos of the mountain view. Had there even been a business conference? My phone slipped from my hand as I lurched to the bathroom, barely making it before my lunch came back up. I clutched the cold porcelain, heaving until nothing was left but bitter saliva and questions when I could stand again. I splashed water on my face and stared at my reflection. Pale, hollow-eyed, a widow who wasn't really a widow, a wife who hadn't been the only wife. Back at the laptop, I forced myself to watch the rest. They danced, they cut cake, they drove away in a car. I recognized our second vehicle, the one David kept at the airport for convenience. I began searching the laptop methodically now, no longer cautious about respecting his privacy. In his email, I found messages to her stretching back years, weekend plans, and meter celebrations, all neatly juggled alongside the same conversations he'd had with me. Then I found her number. My fingers hovered over my phone. What would I even say? Hi, I am the other wife. Or maybe, you are the other wife. I am not sure anymore. Would she even believe me? Did she know about me? Did she know he was dead? I almost called my best friend, Megan. She dropped everything to be with me after the accident, held me as I sobbed through the funeral, brought groceries for weeks, listened to my endless loops of memory and regret. But I couldn't bear to see the pity in her eyes morph into something worse. Pity was for women who lost wonderful husbands. What was the appropriate emotion for women who discovered they'd been expertly, elaborately fooled? Instead, I took a deep breath and typed out a text to the number listed as B in his contacts. This is Emily Johnson, David's wife. We need to talk. 3 dots appeared immediately. She was typing, then stopping, typing again finally. I think you are confused. I am David's wife. I sent her a smear of our wedding photo. Another long pause. Where can we meet? She wrote back. The coffee shop was busy enough that our conversation wouldn't be overheard, but quiet enough that we could actually hear each other. I recognized her immediately from the video. Blonde, petite, younger than me by maybe 5 years. She wore a simple gold band on her left hand. No diamond. I twisted my own rings anxiously, the engagement diamond catching the afternoon light. Rebecca slid into the chair across from me, her face a mask of careful neutrality. Up close, she looked tired. The same kind of tired I saw in my mirror every morning. You said you are David's wife, she began, her voice steady but quiet. For 5 years, I confirmed, pulling out my phone to show her our wedding photos. You, 3, she swallowed hard. But we were together for 2 years before that. So he was with both of us at the same time. She nodded, a flash of pain crossing her features. Do you know, I mean, have you told him you found out? And there it was. She didn't know. David is dead, I said, the words still strange in my mouth. A color drained from her face. She gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles whitening. That's not possible. I identified his body. I planned his funeral. I scattered his ashes. No, she whispered. No, he just left for a business trip to Boston 3 days ago. He called me last night. I felt the world tilt under me. What? She pulled out her phone with shaking hands, scrolled through her call history and turned it toward me. There it was, a 28-minute call from David last night at 9:16 p.m. That's not possible, I echoed her earlier words. Did you see the body? She asked suddenly. At the morgue, did you actually see him? My mind flashed back to that sterile room, the sheet pulled back to reveal his face. So still, so unlike the animated man I'd loved. Yes, it was him. Show me the death certificate, she demanded. I didn't have it with me, but I remembered every detail. The cause of death. Blunt force trauma from a fall, the coroner's signature, the official stamp. We stared at each other across the table, 2 women trying to reconcile impossible truths. Someone is lying, she finally said, and I don't think it's either of us. She was right. We spent the next hour comparing notes, piecing together a life that had been carefully divided. David's business trips never overlapped. When he was with me, he told her he was traveling and vice versa. We lived in different parts of the city. We had different friends. What families? Did he ever mention someone named Melissa? Rebecca asked suddenly, scrolling through his contacts on her phone. Number Y. He has texts with her that sound intimate, but not entirely romantic. More like they're planning something. I took the phone and read through messages about the setup and foundation transfers. They meant nothing to me, but seemed significant. Wait, Rebecca said, her face lighting with realization. I found a key once in his desk. He said it was for a filing cabinet at work, but it had a storage unit number on it. Do you still have it? She nodded. It's at home. We need to see what's in that unit, I said, surprising myself with my certainty. She hesitated. What if we find out he wasn't who either of us thought he was? I think we've already found that out, I replied, feeling an unexpected kinship with this woman who should have been my enemy. The question is, how many other lives was he living? As we exchanged numbers, planning to meet at the storage facility the next day, Rebecca looked at me with narrowed eyes. You seem very calm about all this. I am not calm, I said. I am furious, and I want answers. What I didn't tell her was that beneath the anger was something else, a creeping suspicion that the man I'd wept over for 6 months might not deserve a single one of my tears. The storage facility was on the outskirts of the city, a sprawling complex of identical orange doors and padlocked secrets. Rebecca met me in the parking lot clutching a brass key like it might bite her. I almost didn't come, she admitted as we walked between the long rows of units. Part of me wanted to throw this key away and pretend our conversation never happened. I understood completely last night. I'd stared at our wedding photos until 3 a.m., searching for clues I'd missed, signs that the man smiling beside me was capable of building a life so fractured. Here it is. Rebecca stopped in front of Unit 247. The key slid in smoothly. The lock clicked open. Rebecca pulled up the rolling door and we both stood silent before the revealed space. It wasn't wasn't large, maybe 10 by 10 feet, but every inch had been meticulously organized. Filing cabinets lined one wall, plastic storage bins were stacked on the other. In the center stood a desk with computer setup far more sophisticated than anything David had kept at home, at least at either of our homes. "What is all this?" Rebecca whispered as we stepped inside. I opened the nearest filing cabinet while Rebecca examined the desk. The drawer was filled with hanging folders, each labeled with a different name. I pulled one at random, Marcus Peterson, and found a complete identity inside: pass certificate, social security card, Paradive's license with David's photo, but this other name, credit card statements, tax returns. I opened another folder, another identity, then another. "Emily," Rebecca called, her voice strange. "You need to see this." She had powered on the computer and bypassed the password somehow. On the screen was a spreadsheet titled Foundation Assets. The number scrolled past 6 digits, 7 digits, 8. "He was moving money," she said, pointing to transfer records from accounts in different names into something called the Foundation. I thought of the people I'd met at his funeral, business associates who spoke vaguely of his ventures, friends who seemed to know a different David than the one I'd married. Had any of it been real? In another drawer we found more wedding photos. David with a redhead in a garden ceremony, David with a brunette on a beach, and tucked in the back, a folder labeled Exit Tregegies. Implied were detailed plans for disappearing, new identities, foreign bank accounts, proper deeds, and names I didn't recognize. He wasn't just living double lives, I said slowly, the realization dawning. He was stealing money and planning to vanish. Rebecca had gone very still, staring at something on the computer screen. "Emily, when exactly did David die?" "The 12th of January. Why?" She turned the monitor toward me. On the screen was a bank transfer dated the 3rd of February, 3 weeks after his supposed death, moving $400,000 to an offshore account. The authorization signature was unmistakably his. "That's not possible," I breathed, "unless he's not dead." The thought hit me like a physical blow. I sank into the desk chair, my legs suddenly unable to support me. I identified his body. "Are you sure it was him?" Bursbus is sure. I tried to remember that moment at the morgue, the shock, the grief making my vision blur, the attendant's gentle hand on my arm as I nodded numbly. Had I really looked carefully? Had I seen what I expected to see? We continued searching, finding more evidence of David's elaborate scheme. He hadn't just created false identities for himself. He'd built an entire network of fake businesses that existed only on paper, moving money between them in a complex shell game. As we were preparing to leave, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Stop looking, for your own safety." I showed it to Rebecca, her face paled. "I got the same message last night." As if on cue, her phone chimed. She looked down at it and gasped. "What is it?" I asked. She turned her phone toward me. The message contained a photo of us taken just minutes ago, entering the storage unit. Someone was watching us. Right now. I slammed the drawer shut. "We need to leave." We hastily locked the unit and hurried to the parking lot, constantly looking over our shoulders. In the distance, I thought I saw a figure duck behind a row of storage units, but when I looked again, there was no one there. "What do we do now?" Rebecca asked as we reached our cars. I thought about the threatening text, about the money, about the man who might not be dead after all. "We go to the police," I said. Rebecca shook her head. "With what? A theory that your dead husband isn't actually dead? That he's running some kind of scam? We need more proof." She was right. We needed something concrete, something that would make the authorities take us seriously. There was a location, I remembered suddenly. In one of those files, a beach house in Manzanita, purchased 6 months ago by someone named Thomas Wright, another of his identities. The timing fits. We agreed to meet again tomorrow after we'd had time to process what we'd found. As I watched Rebecca drive away, I felt a strange mix of dread and determination. If David was alive, everything I thought I knew about the past 6 months, about our entire marriage, was a lie. And if he had faked his death, left me grieving while he escaped with millions. I wasn't just going to find him, I was going to make him pay. The first warning arrived the next morning, a single white rose on my doorstep with a card that read, "Grief looks beautiful on you. Don't ruin it with questions." I dropped it like it had burned me, backing away from my own front door. Sabin had watched me enough to know I was investigating. I called Rebecca immediately, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. "Don't come to the door without checking who it is," I warned after telling her about the rose. "Whoever's watching us knows where we live." "I am scared, Emily," she admitted, her voice small. "What have we gotten ourselves into?" I was wondering the same thing just yesterday. My biggest problem had been discovering my husband's secret second marriage. Now I was being stalked by someone who might be my supposedly dead husband or one of his criminal associates. "Maybe we should back off," Rebecca suggested. "Just let it go." But another part, the part still reeling from months of grief for a man who might have orchestrated his own death, couldn't let it go. "I can't," I said simply. "I need to know the truth." My next call was to my best friend Megan. We'd been inseparable since college, and she'd been my rock after David's death. If anyone would help me now, it would be her. We met for lunch at a crowded restaurant where I felt marginally safer. I told her everything, the video, Rebecca, the storage unit, the threats. Her reaction wasn't what I expected. "Emily, listen to yourself," she said gently. "You sound like you are having some kind of break. Grief does strange things to people. I am not making this up." I pulled out my phone, showing her photos I'd taken of the storage unit documents. "Look," she glanced at them dismissively. "These could be anything, business papers. You didn't understand David's work. You've said that yourself. There are wedding photos of him with other women. Photoshop exists, maybe someone is messing with you, or maybe..." She hesitated. "Maybe what? Maybe you are looking for reasons to be angry at David instead of just grieving him. It might be easier to hate him than to miss him. You think I am making this up because I can't handle my grief?" Her expression softened. "I think you should talk to your therapist about these feelings. This conspiracy theory isn't healthy." I left the restaurant feeling even more alone than before. If my best friend didn't believe me, who would? Back home, I found my front door unlocked, though I was certain I'd locked it. Nothing seemed disturbed, but when I checked David's laptop again, it was gone. Someone had been in my house. Shevin had taken the only solid evidence I had. I called Rebecca in a panic, but she didn't answer. I left increasingly frantic messages. When she finally called back 3 hours later, her voice was cold. "I can't do this anymore, Emily. It's too dangerous." "What happened?" I demanded. "Someone broke into my car. They left photos of my parents' house in Florida. They know where my family lives, Emily. All the more reason not to back off. David or whoever's doing this is dangerous, which is exactly why I am backing off," she snapped. "I have people I need to protect. So do I myself. Then protect yourself by forgetting all of this. Please." Her voice softened. "I'm sorry." After she hung up, I sat in my silent house feeling the walls closing in. I was alone now. Rebecca had abandoned the search. searched. Megan thought I was having a mental breakdown. The police would laugh me out of the station if I claimed my dead husband was actually alive and threatening me that night. I couldn't sleep. Every creak of the house, every passing car headlight had me jumping. Reens 3 a.m. I finally gave in to exhaustion, only to be jolted awake an hour later by my phone, a text from another unknown number. The cliff wasn't an accident, neither was the body. Stop now or your accident is next. The skiing accident that had supposedly killed David happened when he went off trail and fell from a cliff. How did this person know that detail unless David had never been on that cliff at all? Unless the body I'd identified wasn't David, but someone else, someone made to look like him. It seemed impossible, but so did everything else I'd learned in the past 48 hours. I got up and packed a bag with shaking hands. I couldn't stay here. I wasn't safe as I threw clothes into a suitcase. I made a decision. I would drive to Manzanita to the beach house. If David was alive, if he had orchestrated all of this, there might be answers there. And if there weren't, if I was truly losing my mind, then at least I'd be away from here, away from the threats and the roses and the feeling of being watched. I left before dawn, taking only what I could carry, using cash instead of credit cards. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. Not Rebecca, who had abandoned me, not Megan, who didn't believe me. I would find the truth alone or not at all. The beach house was exactly where the documents had indicated, a modern glass and cedar structure perched on a cliff overlooking the ocean. From my position in the rental car parked down the road, I could see lights on inside. Shevin was home. I'd been watching for 3 hours, debating my next move when a figure emerged onto the deck. Even from this distance, I recognized the posture, the way he leaned against the railing. My dead husband, very much alive, stood silhouetted against the sunset, casually sipping from a glass, as if he hadn't destroyed multiple lives, as if he hadn't left me collapsed on our bedroom floor, gasping for air when the police came to tell me he was dead. I hadn't planned what I would do if I actually found him, call the police, confront him. Now that the moment was here, I found myself moving on autopilot, walking up the winding path to the house, my heart thundering in my chest. I rang the doorbell before I could lose my nerve. Footsteps approached. The door swung open, and there he was. His voice was flat with shock, the glass of whiskey in his hand tilting precariously. He looked exactly the same, except for a new scar along his jawline that hadn't been there before. Surprise, I said, amazed at how steady my voice sounded when inside I was screaming. You look pretty good for a dead man. He recovered quickly, glancing past me as if checking to see if I'd come alone. Then he stepped back, gesturing me inside with the casual confidence I'd once found charming. I guess we have some catching up to do. The interior of the house was pencils and expensive, all ocean views and designer furniture. Nothing that hinted at the lives he'd left behind. How did you find me? He asked, closing the door. Does it matter? He studied me for a long moment, then something in his posture shifted. The shock faded, replaced by a calculating look I'd never seen before. You've been busy, he said. So he knew we'd connected, had been watching us all along. Did you send those threats? I demanded. I was trying to protect you. Protect me. I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. You faked your death. You made me identify a body that wasn't you. You left me to grieve while you, what? Ran away with millions in stolen money. His jaw tightened. It's complicated. Explain it to me then. I crossed my arms. Explain how you justified leaving me broken while you started a new life. He set his glass down, sighing dramatically like I was being unreasonable. I didn't have a choice, I got in over my head. With what, the foundation? His eyes narrowed at that. What do you know about the foundation? I know it was your way of funneling money from your various scams. I know you created multiple identities to pull it off. What I don't know is who died in your place. He looked away, and in that moment, I knew all of it was true. Every horrible thing I'd suspected. It was a homeless man, he said finally. No one who would be missed. I paid a coroner to falsify the dental records. The callousness of it stole my breath. You killed someone? I didn't kill him. He was already dead. I just used his body. For what purpose? Why fake your death at all? David ran a hand through his hair, a familiar gesture that now seemed like it belonged to a stranger. I made some powerful people very angry, people who wouldn't stop looking for me. Disappearing was the only way out. And Rebecca, your other wives, necessary covers, which identities needed different lives? What was I? He had the audacity to look wounded. You were my real life, as close to real as I could have. The laugh that burst from me was ugly. You expect me to believe that after everything? It's the truth. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to that intimate register he used when he wanted to convince me of something. I loved you. I still do. Why do you think I've been watching over you all this time? Watching over me? You've been terrorizing me. I've been protecting you, he insisted. If certain people knew you were looking into my affairs, you'd be in real danger. From who? It doesn't matter. What matters is that you are here now. His expression shifted to something hopeful. We could start over, Emily. I have enough money for us to disappear together. Go somewhere no one would find us. I stared at him, unable to believe what I was hearing. Did he honestly think I would run away with him after what he'd done? What about Rebecca and the others? He waved dismissively. They were just part of the operation, but I wasn't. You were different. He reached for my hand. I jerked away, repulsed. I grieved for you. I wept for you. I scattered what I thought were your ashes on a mountain. And now you know the truth. Isn't that what you wanted? That's when I noticed the phone on the counter behind him, its screen lighting up with a call. The name displayed made my blood run cold. Megan, my best friend, my rock. The one who had dismissed my conspiracy theories. You've been talking to Megan? I said slowly, the pieces clicking into place. She's part of this. The flicker in his eyes confirmed it before he could deny it. Emily, how long has she been helping you? He sighed, abandoning the pretense. From the beginning, we needed someone to keep an eye on you after my death. The betrayal cut deeper than anything else, not just David, but Megan, the two people I had trusted most in the world. Was any of it real? I whispered. Any of it at all? For the first time, he looked genuinely sad. Some of it was more than you think. I backed toward the door, needing to escape to process this new layer of deception. Where are you going? He demanded. Away from you. You can't tell anyone about this, Emily. It's too dangerous for both of us. There was a threat in his voice now, barely concealed. What are you going to do? I challenged. Kill me too. He didn't answer, which was answer enough. I turned and ran. I drove aimlessly for hours, blind with tears and rage. David was alive. Megan had betrayed me. Everything I thought I knew had been carefully constructed lies. I pulled over at a deserted viewpoint, the Pacific stretching endlessly before me, and screamed until my throat was raw. Then I sat in silence, watching waves crash against the cliffs below, and tried to think clearly for the first time in 6 months. David wouldn't let me walk away with what I knew. He'd made that clear. He had resources, allies, and a demonstrated willingness to go to extreme lengths to protect himself. I had what evidence he'd already largely destroyed. A story so outlandish, no authority would believe it without proof. My My phone rang. Rebecca, I answered warily. He contacted me, she said without preamble. David, he's offering money to keep quiet. You've spoken to him? Just emails? He says he'll transfer $1 million if I sign an NDA and never speak about him again. I gripped the phone tighter. And are you going to take it? Her silence was telling. Rebecca, he's dangerous. He faked his death. He used a dead, homeless man's body. I know, she said quietly. He told me. And you are still considering his offer? What choice do I have? Item him and risk everything? Take his money and start over? At least this way I get something out of this nightmare? I couldn't blame her. She hadn't asked for any of this either. To hear is something else, she added hesitantly. He said he's offering the same deal to the others? Others? Apparently there are 3 more wives. He's contacting all of us. 5 wives total, 5 lives he'd manipulated, used, and discarded. 5 women now being offered blood money to disappear. After we hung up, I received an email from an anonymous address, the same offer. $1 million for my silence. All I had to do was sign the attached document and provide bank details. For one wild moment, I considered it. Take the money. Banish Belle to new life far from here. Let David continue his games with someone else, but something stopped me maybe. It was the thought of that unnamed homeless man used as a prop in David's disappearing act. Maybe it was the memory of those months of grief, real grief that had nearly destroyed me. Or maybe it was simply that I refused to let him win again. I thought back to our marriage, to moments I'd cherished, our first date when he'd seemed so attentive to every word I said, our wedding day when he'd been uncharacteristically distant. Now I understood why. The nights I'd waited up for him during business trips, not knowing he was with another family. Had I ever really known him at all? My phone buzzed with a text from Megan. David told me you found him. Let him help you. Take the deal. The casual admission of her betrayal ignited something in me. Not just anger, but clarity. I began typing a response to the anonymous email. I'll take the deal, but I want to meet in person. No lawyers, just us. The reply came quickly. Too risky, not negotiable, I wrote back. I have copies of everything from the storage unit. Minimi or I take it all to the FBI tomorrow. A bluff, but he couldn't know that 3 agonizing hours later. Fine. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. The beach house. I had 24 hours to prepare. 24 hours to decide what kind of person I wanted to be on the other side of this nightmare. As sunset gave way to darkness, I made calls to the other wives. Not all answered, but those who did shared the same story. Love, manipulation, betrayal together. We began to form a plan. David had always been careful to keep his worlds separate. He'd never anticipated us finding each other, comparing notes, joining forces. He'd controlled us through isolation, and now that control was slipping. That night, in a motel room paid for with cash, I finally allowed myself to mourn, not for the husband I'd lost, but for the life I thought I had, or the love I believed in, for the future that had never been real. Tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow I would stop being a victim. My phone buzzed with another text from Megan. Please be smart about this. You don't know what he's capable of. But she was wrong. I was beginning to understand exactly what David was capable of, and for the first time I think he was about to discover what I was capable of too. The beach house looked different in daylight, less mysterious, more concrete. Like David himself once the illusions fell away. I parked where he could see my car approach. No surprises, no games. Just me walking up the path to confront the man who had shattered my life and was now offering to buy my silence. He opened the door before I could knock. You came alone? His eyes scanned the road behind me, just like you asked. I stepped inside, my heart surprisingly steady. The living room had been rearranged. Documents were spread across the coffee table, legal papers, bank transfers, a new passport with my photo but a different name. Everything you need to disappear, David said, gesturing to the array. New identity, new accounts, new life. Very thorough. I sat on the edge of the sofa, not touching anything. You've clearly done this before. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey, sliding one toward me. I am trying to help you, Emily. Like you helped that homeless man whose body I identified as yours. His jaw tightened. That was unfortunate but necessary. And Megan? Was turning my best friend against me necessary too? She was never against you. She was protecting you. I laughed bitterly. Is that what you call it? This isn't productive? This isn't productive? He sat across from me. All business now. Do you want the deal or not? $1 million, a new identity, a fresh start? All I need is your signature on that NDA and your word that you'll never contact me or speak about me again. I reached for the papers, pretending to read them, and if I don't sign, his expression hardened. That would be unwise. Would you kill me too? I asked bluntly. Add me to your body count. Don't be dramatic. I am not being dramatic. I am being practical. You've demonstrated you are willing to go to extreme lengths to protect yourself. I am just wondering where the line is. He leaned forward, voice low and intense. There is no line when it comes to survival, Emily. I did what I had to do, including marrying 5 different women. Was that survival too? Different identities needed different lives, Weisha connections. The marriages were strategic, and the emotion, the intimacy, the promises were those strategic too. Something flickered in his eyes, discomfort perhaps, or just annoyance at my questions. Sign the papers, Emily, take the money. Start over. I pretended to consider it, watching the clock on the wall. Almost time. Before I sign, I said carefully, I have questions about us. Was any of it real? He sighed, impatient. Some of it more than with the others. That's not saying much. What do you want me to say, that I loved you? Fine, I loved you, now sign. And Rebecca, did you love her too? His eyes narrowed. Why are you asking about her? Just curious about your other wives like Sophia and Tara and Jennifer. Each name made him stiffen further. You've been busy, we all have. On cue, the doorbell rang. David froze. Who is that? Why don't you answer it and find out? His face darkened. What have you done? Nothing yet. The doorbell rang again, more insistent. David moved to the window, peering through the blinds. His body went rigid at whatever he saw. You brought them here, all of them? Do you have any idea what you've done? Created a reunion, I suggested. He turned on me, eyes blazing. This isn't a game, Emily. There are people looking for me. There are people looking for me. Dangerous people. If they trace any of you here, you mean the investors you defrauded? Or the federal authorities interested in your money laundering operation? The doorbell gave way to knocking voices, called his name, different names. David, Thomas, Michael, James, Robert, each identity he'd created, each life he'd fabricated, now converging on this moment. I am not opening that door, he said flatly. You don't have to. I stood, moving toward it myself. They already know you are here. He grabbed my arm, grip painful. Don't. For a moment I saw real fear in his eyes, not of his wives, but of what our gathering might signal, exposure, the end of his carefully constructed escape. Let go of me, I said quietly.